Isn't it amazing how 10 years can go by seemingly like nothing? For some people, it might have felt like it was forever, like it was 100 years ago. Others, it might feel like it was yesterday. But 10 years is 10 years, and 10 years has passed since Brad Keselowski won his first Cup Series race at Talladega in spectacular fashion. And we're going to dive back into that a little bit here today with a little bit of a diecast review, if you will. So sit tight with me, bear with me as I do this somewhat impromptu video. It's been a bit of an ordeal up to this point trying to get it to work the way I want to. So, like I said, just please bear with me on this one. I know it's much different than we're used to doing here. So this is one of my prized possessions, to be honest with you. It's one of my favorite pieces of my diecast collection. It's one I've owned for a couple of months now, and it's one that it took me a while to track down. And it's not easy to track down still, but it's such an important piece of my fan history of this sport and my favorite driver that it was an absolute must-have. And we're gonna just sort of take a nice little reflect back on it here today. So let's go ahead and get into that a little bit. Of course, however, this is tied with one of the most incredible finishes of Talladega's history. And some of you probably remember where you were at, what you were doing, who you were with when you were watching it. I know I do. I definitely do. But for those of you who maybe weren't fans at the time, maybe some of you weren't even alive at the time. You never know. But for those of you who don't know what we're referencing, let's go ahead and roll a clip, please, Maestro.
Two laps to decide.
I tell you, it's working like he wanted it to, though, because here they come. Look at the 99 and
Brad Keselowski. And we once again, there's that two-car draft, and look at the run. They get off turn 2.
That's 10 miles an hour faster than the cars in front of them.
They'll be coming to the white flag this time. And what's interesting, that's a Hendrick car running second. That's a Hendrick-related car leading the race. And that's a Hendrick-related car pushing Carl Edwards' white flag this time.
Yeah, Carl Edwards from the back all day to the lead with 1 to go.
3 Chevys and 1 Ford. And it doesn't matter now. Your friends are where you find them. And from hanging out back, Carl Edwards.
I'll tell you, I don't know if they can catch them. What we've seen today, 2 cars get that big a lit run on them. I don't know that the 39 and the 88 can catch them. I don't know. I don't think he can step out until he waits till the last second and picks up.
He goes to the outside. Is Edwards going?
Oh, no.
He turns him.
No, no.
Oh, and that destroyed the front end of Newman's car.
No.
Edwards will not make it to the flag.
Oh,
Brad Keselowski won this race.
But watch, the 09's going to look to the outside where he already has. Carl went up to block him a little bit. Now he's going to come down to try to block him again, and you get 1 shot at it, but you don't get 2. Watch this.
What a lick.
Oh my gosh.
Unbelievable.
You know, and looking very carefully at the catch fencing that held.
I knew it was going to be wild. I didn't know it was going to be this wild.
Run, here's a 3 back from him.
This is from Carl's onboard
Looking
camera.
inside, 09.
But Darrell, I want to ask you.
Well, it was an instant classic at Talladega, and little did we know of the rivalry that would spawn from that moment between Brad Keselowski and Carl Edwards. But we got a pretty awesome piece of fan memorabilia out of the deal, and that's what we're going to get into now. So let's take a look at the box first, because the box is actually quite nice. I miss them doing these kind of things with the boxes. As you can see, it's got some nice art kind of all over it, whereas the boxes are kind of just standardized now. They were a lot nicer back in the day, I thought, maybe with the unique art to them all. But maybe that's just my opinion. I don't know. But as you can see, it is very nice looking as we'll get a little closer up to it. Got the raced version, obviously. This is the non-autographed version of this car as well. I don't like buying cars pre-autographed. But it's got a nice picture of the car, of course. This was back when it was just Action Racing Collectibles. Lionel was not in the mix yet. I don't believe, anyway. So, Brad Keselowski, of course, got a little name badge right there. Got a couple of logos. Of course, it was a Phoenix Racing car, and it was sponsored by Keselowski. And yes, I did have to look that up to know how to pronounce that. They're sort of, I guess what you would call casinos, whatever you want to call them. They were the sponsor on this car. And of course, there is Brad Keselowski, a very young Brad Keselowski, holding the trophy with the 09 car number. And of course, the date and the race. The Aaron's 499, April 26th, 2009, the race winner. So that's pretty cool here. Up top, you're going to get pretty much the same deal. Just a couple of different photos. A nice photo of a burnout taking place in the backdrop, and a couple of nice photos of Brad posing with the trophy. Isn't that nice? And I love this up here. The dreams come true at the Aaron's 499 at Talladega. And boy, did the dreams ever come true for Brad Keselowski on that day. So let's go ahead, and I believe it is the other side here, actually. Let's go ahead and get down nice and low. So this is what all the diecast collectible nerds like to pay attention to here. The badge, make sure we got the right one, and of course we do. We got the legit Brad Keselowski number 09 Mikowski Talladega win 09 Impala SS. And that was one of 1,269. Nice! And then, of course, you've got another Platinum Series logo, as well as the famous year badging that's always on there. And that pretty much completes it for the box. Of course, on the back, though, they do have the sort of COT layout, letting you know all the features of the diecast car that you have just purchased. Which, if you've never owned a COT, go ahead and look at that. You can see that right there. That's pretty cool. And then this end, just another, you got the hologram there, when they used to be able to redeem those back in the day. I don't know if you can still do that anymore. I don't think so. But yeah, just a couple extra logos, a little bit of box wear on there, probably from the previous owner, but no biggie. I'm after the car, not the box, and the car is phenomenal. So, and here is the bottom of the box. As you can see, we've got the rccamembers.com, kind of talking a little bit about that, and some legal mumbo jumbo, it seems, down there. So if that's the kind of thing you're interested in reading, go ahead and read through that. We'll go ahead and move right along. And that concludes basically our walk around of the box, which is a very nice box, like I said. So, of course, we're after what's in the box. So let's go ahead, and it's going to be kind of hard to do this with one hand, but we are going to keep moving forward here. As we've got a nice little card up top here. Now, I like this card. It's actually much longer than the ones you get nowadays, but it is pretty much the same idea. Just got a little bit more sort of artwork, more photos on it than they would now. As you can see, we've got some nice pictures of Brad up top there celebrating his win. Of course, got the cool car burnout into the winner text, and then we got some nice stats right here as well, which I'll read through. Talladega, Alabama, of course, where the race took place. Start time 2:16 p.m. Total laps 188. Number of cautions 9. Number of leaders 25. Number of laps led by the winner 1. And driver career wins. Obviously, this was the first Cup win for Brad at the Aaron's 499, which took place on April 26, 2009, exactly 10 years ago today. All right, so that concludes the card, basically, and it is a very nice card, but we'll move that a slide. And as you can see, we got a couple more cards. Of course, everybody gets these. You'll remember these if you're an avid collector. They used to shove these in here, and they still do. They've limited to just one now, but it's basically useless after you already bought one. You read it for the first time, then you basically never just read it again. You just shove it out of the way, and the second one just tells you how to get into the box, pretty much. So, not much to see there. Congratulations on your purchase. Of course, we've got this little piece of cloth that you actually can open up this cloth and slide the car in and to store it. I guess you can see it's like openable, but I don't think that's a very good idea, especially with the wing being out there as pronounced as it is. That seems like it could be potentially dangerous, ripping off that wing and damaging the diecast. But you could also use it just to wipe down the car, I guess, if you wanted to. But this is something that's really cool. As you can see, it's like a pin basically of Brad Keselowski. It says Victory Lane, Talladega, and it's got the date on it, 4/26/09. And you just simply don't get stuff like this anymore. It's pretty cool. It's pretty awesome. They don't give you things like this really anymore. Maybe occasionally you'll get some kind of cool little extra in there, but this kind of stuff is a thing of the past, really. So it's cool to have. It's cool to have. I'll probably always keep that in the box. Have no real other use for it, but we are down to the money shot now, ladies and gentlemen. It is time. We are going to unveil and unearth, if you will, the styrofoam, and let us peer inside to one of my favorite race cars of all time. Definitely of the past 10 years now, as it's moving out of that bracket. But take a nice little shot down on the car directly, and now for the fun part of trying to get this out of this box with one hand. It actually wasn't too bad. So Keep that hood down there, and there you have it. Let me get a lower angle a little bit on there. Let me put the box back together actually, and then we'll walk around the car a little bit better. There we go. Much better now, of course, having the car on top of the box and out of the box. And what a beautiful machine it is. So let's go ahead and go straight down the side here. As you can see, got all the accurate logos, everything down to the contingencies, the Goodyear logos, all the little contingencies up here. Everything is obviously of that period. Still got the EA Sports logo down there. That's funny to look at that now, kind of a thing of the past. And Coors Light Pull Award, it cries internally. That's gone now. All these things. A lot has changed in 10 years, but and of course we got the 09. We've got Brad's old door signature. The B post is a little bare. What does that say? Sherman-Williams. So we got a little representation by them here on this car. Got of course the giant Keselowski logo on the quarter panel sponsor area. We got a bunch of these small white contingencies down here, and Goodyear tires looking pretty good there, marked up. I assume those are probably about as accurate as they get. They probably looked right at the actual tires on the car and got those. And then a little smaller Keselowski Golf and Country Club. So that is the side of it. Let's take a look. I think the best angle of this car is just looking straight on it at the front. I mean, just look at just looking at it right now. That's great. That is just fantastic. See, just the dirt, the grime, the just high bank nastiness of this thing. I can't even almost put it into words. I'm struggling over here because it's so incredible to me how this car, in this state as it sits right now, can tell such a story of such a battle. What a battle Talladega is to race at and to survive all day and to get to the win at the end of it all. Just this car tells such a fantastic story with all of this dirt and just nastiness on the front of it. The grill markings are completely just covered. It's unbelievable. Just how basically tore up this car is. If we keep going all the way down the side here, you'll see we got some damage back here. Of course, we got the exhaust down there coming out of the side. You got some door damage there in the number. Got a little bit of tire markings there from the burnout. This is back before they could actually take these parts off. Now they have it so that if they got some quarter panel damage, they can just take these parts right off. And I got a couple of cars that are like that, but back then they didn't have the technology, so they just blacked it out and pretended it wasn't there. And now you can see, of course, that the tire is blown out. And actually, if we look underneath of this car, which you'll see that the tire is actually meant to be deformed. I have a couple of cars that are also like this, and they have that deformed, blown out tire from after the race, and that's pretty cool to me. I think that's really cool. So we'll continue down the side here. Of course, look up top as well, looking at the 60 car, as you can see here, the 09 in reverse here. We got the nice little reflections on the glass and everything. And Keselowski again, yep, same idea, basically just with some damage on this side of it. And you see the Phoenix Racing logo on the wing there. That's pretty cool. Mikowski Indian Gaming there. You got the DIN number in the back, which I think I've already redeemed, but I don't know with some of these. I don't really care either because I'm too lazy to ever do them. Then you got the back end, which even the back, he was more of a pusher all day than an out front guy, as we saw at the end there. But it worked out when it needed to, and he's got a little bit of damage from getting pushed around during the day. Got some little sort of scrape ups right here in the middle, essentially, and kind of some little bit of sort of scrubs up there against the entire back bumper. But man, it's such a cool car. And we'll back it up here and look at the back. The COT, I know the COT is kind of a love it or you either love it or you hate it, and I probably fall somewhere in between. Especially once they took the wing off, I thought the cars looked a lot nicer. But this is just such a great piece right here that I just love it. I absolutely love it. So that pretty much concludes the walk around of the car. And what a car it is, man. It means a lot to me personally as a Brad Keselowski fan. Like I said, I've been a fan of Brad Keselowski since he drove for Juniors Motorsports around 2007. He had a horrible crash. I've told this story before, but he had a terrible crash at Fontana where he was up in the air in that gold car and just got completely destroyed. And that was the day I learned who Brad Keselowski was, and I learned he was from Michigan, which is where I'm from. So immediately I had that kind of attachment. I started to kind of latch onto him a little bit when I would see him racing in the Nationwide Series at the time. And when Dale Jr., picked him up to do his races, with him, obviously he was with the team when that crash happened. He went on in 2008, got his first win at Nashville in the Nationwide Series at the time. Obviously, then he transitioned a couple of years later over to Penske, and he's become this great driver and one of the best out there that you get to deal with. So, it's just, it's the beginning. It's the beginning for his Cup, career, and it means a lot to me to have it in my collection. And like I said earlier, as well, I remember where I was, what I was doing, who I was with. I was sitting on the couch in my home that I currently live in, have lived in my entire life, with my parents, and we were actually eating some dinner and watching the end of the race. I was eating a chicken little sandwich from KFC. Had one of those hanging out of my mouth essentially, and obviously the last lap went down the way it did, and it stuck in my mind with me forever. Me saying, "Holy crap! I think Carl Edwards is dead," and everybody is. It was such an unbelievable accident that took place right at the end, and then luckily everybody was okay. At the end of the day, everybody no serious injuries or anything like that. Carl Edwards obviously was able to walk out of his car and walk across the finish line, and all the fans ended up living to see another race another day. So it all turned out okay in the end, and then Brad Keselowski obviously getting to celebrate. Make his name, make his mark in the Cup Series, and then it's gone on to be this great thing. So, it just as a fan, it's awesome. It's awesome to have. So I hope you guys appreciate at least this car a little bit as much as I do, because it is an awesome one. And I actually want to hear a little bit of response from you guys that watch this video. Tell me a little bit about where you were, what you were doing, where you were watching this. Do you have a story of when you watched this car win? Back in 2009, that whole Carl Edwards, Brad Keselowski deal. Just tell me your fan story about it. Where were you? What were you doing? Do you remember where you were and what you were doing when you were watching the race? So let me know then, and let me know, do you have a diecast that's part of your collection that just means, that is your grail, if you will, your holy grail of your collection? Just let me know, because that kind of stuff interests me. I'll be sure to check the comments on this one. Like I always do, really. So that'll pretty much do it. This one, again, one of my all-time favorites. Thrilled to have it in the collection. I'm going to box it back up and put it back on the shelf so it's nice and safe. And with that, I'll pretty much wrap it up there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I know it's a little different than what we're used to doing, but it's a cool date, so I wanted to do something for it. And we'll see, can Brad Keselowski win another race this weekend? I believe it'll be number 30 if he does. So it'll be interesting to see at Talladega's 100th race. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!